So after that, after the focus or the how to use the stress, we also have the rhyme. There are three kinds of rhyme: the internal, the N, and the I. The internal rhyme, there are two types of it. Sorry. The alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant, you know, in the beginning of the words in a single line. Example there, round and round. The rugged rug, the ragged rascal ran. So the letter R, which is a consonant, yeah, the letter R is in the beginning of the word and is repeated round and round, especially in the words rugged rug and the ragged rascal ran. You see, it creates a melody of some sort, it creates a rhythm of some sort. Round and round, the rugged rock, the ragged rascal ran. So you can play around with melody at the time. You can play around with, you have a better space for you to play with the melody and the timing. Round and round, round and round. Rugged rock, the ragged rascal ran. You can play around with that. If a vowel is sorry, if a vowel is repeated instead, either at the beginning or in the middle of the words, it's called assonance. Thou foster child of silence and slow time. So there is the repetition of O in thou foster. Thou foster. There is an O, but the most powerful one here is the child of silence, because they are exactly the same. There is also what we call a half rhyme, which means that the one sound is almost identical, like thou foster. It's almost similar, but not exactly the same, so because thou is a, thou, but foster is o. Thou foster. So it's not exactly the same, but it looks almost identical. We can also call it half rhyme. Child of silence, however, is the same cha, cha, and silence. So the same, yeah? Child of silence and slow time. So we call that assonance because it's the middle of the word and it is a vowel. So alliteration is used commonly in the earlier poems because they make words very solemn sometimes and also very nice to hear. Now this is Middle English. If you see that verse written by, I think it was Chaucer, I think this is written in the 14th century, in the 1300s. So let me try my best, reciting it. In a summer season, when soft was the sun, I shape me in shrouds, as I a shape were, and habits like hermit, unholy of works, went wide in this world, wonders to hear. So the thing with Middle English is that they're not written like modern English, so you might have difficulty in reading it as a word, but once you hear it pronounced, it is clearer to you. In summer season, so in a summer season, when when soft, so it's not one, but when soft was the sun. It is the sun, the sun in the sky, not the kid you have with your girlfriend. So it is the sun. When the sun was soft, I sh I shaped me in shrouds, like cloaks, like what you call it, something you wear that cover yourself, as I a sheep were, as I like a sheep, inhabits like a hermit, not heremite, but hermit, unholy of works, went wide in this world, wonders to hear, with wonders to hear. Yeah, so you went around like a hermit, unholy. Yeah, you know, you go around perhaps doing things that are not related to your spiritual. You went wide in this world. You go everywhere, and you have wonders to hear. You want to get. You want to hear stories. Yeah. So this is alliteration. Yeah, the summer season. Soft was the sun. So you want to create a connection in this word. The summer season, I think it's very obvious that it is the summer season, but when you put that, when soft was the sun in this first line, it is the sun that is soft. Yeah. So you want to connect those, even though there is this word was the. You want to connect those. I shape me in shrouds. Second line. The shape is in the shrouds, as I sheep were. So you look like a sheep, and you're doing unholy work. Perhaps you're the wolf, you know, a wolf in a sheep form, you know, a wolf in a sheep uh, disguise. So I shape shrouds and sheep. They are all connected. Yes, so that is the use of alliteration. It shows you the connection between topics. So in the middle there's these two lines. Those are the caesura, which marks the beginning of a new unit of thought. So, yes, let's continue. And there is also the end rhymes. Perhaps this is the most common. Identical syllables at the end of certain lines. Cold in the earth, first line, and in the deep snow piled above thee. Far, far removed, cold in the dreary grave. So you see, thee and grave does not end with the same sound. Thee, grave, I and F, so to say. If I forgot my only love to love thee, thee and thee, they rhyme. Simple, right? Yeah, I don't think that's a very good rhyme because the word is exactly the same, but it's the same sound, so it rhymes. The dreary grave, served at last by time all severing wave. So grave and wave, they rhyme, and a better rhyme because they use different words. So the first sound is E, thee. That is the first sound. First sound of the rhyme is the and the on the third line and the first line. The first type of sound we call that the A sound. So that's why you got this A. Sorry, you got this A here. This is not part of the poem, obviously. This is to show that this is the first type of the sound, which is A. It is repeated here and here, the first and the second. Now, grave and wave is the second type of sound, which is the eighth, grave, wave, the eighth. So this is the second type. We call that the B type. A is the first type of sound. B is the second type of sound. If you have the third one, you go with C. With C, C. You have the fourth type of sound. You go with D. So it doesn't mean that it's A is a rhyme that ends with A or B is a rhyme that ends with the letter B. No, it can be different sounds just so that they're the same type. So all the A's are the same type of sound. B is the same type of end rhymes sound, and so on. And then the next part is what I said before, a bit like the half rhyme I talked before. The I rhymes stand between the visual and the acoustic dimension of a poem. Basically, it looks like it rhymes when you look the word in writing, but when you say it, it does not sound like it rhymes. So it looks like it rhymes, but it does not sound like a rhyme. The example here is then, let me read the first line, yeah. Then reach the caverns measureless to man. Now you see the second line before I read it. The last word is ocean. It looks, the AN is similar to man, M-A-N. The ocean also have the same end letters an, so it looks like it rhymes, but when you read it, and second line, and sank in tumult to a lifeless ocean, it ends with a ocean, while man ends with an. An and un does not rhyme. Man and ocean does not rhyme. So it looks like it rhymes, but it does not sound like it rhymes. Uh, it goes for the next one. Heard from far, and you want to pronounce war, in the last line to rhyme with far. You get the temptation. You want to pronounce war to rhyme with far. In that case, far war, which is wrong. That is not how you pronounce war. War ends with or. Far ends with r. So far and war does not rhyme, but it is. Some people say it is a half rhyme. In this case, it is an I rhymes because it looks the same, but it does not sound the same. It can be seen with the eye, but not by the tongue. It plays with the reader's expectation. It draws attention to, in that case, because it does not rhyme. So the last part will be the type of stanzas. Stanzas is a bunch of lines together. For example, this is one stanza, cold, far, half served. Line is the physical, what you call that, physical position. So this the line is like the first thing, the first sentence. The second line is the second sentence, so to say. Yeah, to give you just an idea. Again, we do not call it sentence, we call it line. The first line is cold in the heart, in the earth, blah blah blah. The second line is far, far removed, cold in the dreary grave, blah blah blah. The third line is have I forgot, blah blah blah. The last line is served at last by, blah blah blah. Those are the lines, the physical position of it. The verse, however, is a bit ambiguous. Verse can refer to a certain line or a unit of thought in a poem. You can use the word verse sometimes like a synonym, the same with a line, but stanza is like the paragraph of the poem, so to say. So the stanzas in English poetry can be reduced to a few basic forms. Most poems are composed of couplets. This is two verses, yeah, two lines, yes. Tercets, three verses or lines, or quatrains, four verses or lines. Shakespearean, Spenserian, or Italian, or Petrarchan sonnet, that is to say, William Shakespeare, Edmund Spenser, those are the poets of the Middle English, very famous, or Italian, borrowed from the Italian language. In the Renaissance, the sonnet cycles, consisting of a number of thematically related poems, become popular as a result of Italian influence. This is the example of the Shakespearean sonnet. You see that in the rhyme A there, it ends with old. So behold, cold, third line. The first line is behold, ends with behold. The third line ends with cold. So they're the same, yeah. That's why we call them A. In the end there. The second line ends with ang, hang. It rhymes with the fourth line with sang. Yes, we call them the B sound because they sound the same. Day, however, does not rhyme with behold or hang, or cold or sang. The fifth line, day, rhymes with take away. That's why we call them the C sound. So that's how you put those A, B, C, D in the end, yeah? Just so that you can mark which rhymes with which and what kind of sound is used. Yeah. So the first, what you call that? This is one stanza because you don't see any spaces between the lines. Lines after another. This is one stanza. The Shakespearean stanza is composed of, how many is this? almost like 12 plus 2, 14 lines. Yeah, or you can play around with stanzas if you're using the free or experimental poetry. It ends with it starts with A, B, A, B. That makes one quatrain in a verse. So you see, verse is more, what do you call it? For verses, yeah, it's more dynamic, so to say, than line. Line is an exact position. Verses can also be a unit of thought. Yeah, but we usually use the word lines and verse interchangeably. They're synonyms. They're the same. AB is a quatrain because they have the construction of 4 verses with the rhyme, with a with a with connected rhyme AB. That's one unit. A quatrain, CD, yeah, 4 verses, yeah, in a similar structure. AB. You get the sense of continuity from A to B, hold to cold, hang to sang. So you feel repetition, but then you start with something new. Day to away, west to rest, which has no connection with the previous one. You write them CD, so you know this is another quatrain because they have a different sound schemes, sound setting. And then you come upon the new one, fire and expire, which does not it's not the same with the C, with the A, B, C, or D. So you write it E, and lie and nourished by, which is again is a new one. So you write EF, and you know this is a new quatrain because this is not connected with the previous one. However, the last one is G, and G is a couplet, 2 verses that ends exactly the same. So the point here is the 3 quatrains and the couplet. There is a connection here between the formal and thematic elements. The first AB talks about, you know, the whole point of this stanza is in the last 2 sentences. This thou perceived, this you know, which make your love stronger. I'm reading the last 2 lines, yeah. You know this, and it makes your love stronger. To love that well which you must leave before long. This is the main point that the stanza is trying to make. In the last couplet, which rhymes together, it's like a driving the point home, while the first 3 quatrains trying to introduce this one by a lot of imageries and figures of speech. The time of year you have in me, when the yellow leaves or none or few hang upon those boughs, upon those branches which shake against the cold, bird-ruined choirs where late the sweet birds sang. It does not talk about the point of the stanza. It's like introduction. It's like setting the mood, so to say, arrange the feel. And then as you move with another quatrain, you try to elicit more, you try to tell more and more, and then you drive the point home with the last 2 lines. So this is what it means with close connection with informal and thematic elements. The verses talks about one topic defined, yes, the quatrain. So you see it is arranged in AB, the first 4 lines. It still talks about one thing, which is the setting. No, we don't call it the setting, yeah? We call it I think we have the word for it. We call it the concrete scenery. We call it the scenery. So in this case, we talk about the scenery here only. That time you may behold, you may remember, when yellow leaves upon those boughs, bedroom chairs, when the sweet birds sang. It talks about the birds, about the scene, the scenery, which is about trees, mostly. And then the second quatrain is that suddenly you introduce me. And then you talk about the time of day. Instead of just the setting, you talk about the time of day. Sun